14, I apologize for being late. I took Mr. Seeley, our legislative analyst, special representative from Washington, to Felipe's. And as you all know, the line at Felipe's was a good line, so I apologize. Good afternoon, Madam Clerk, Madam CLA, Madam City Attorney, Madam Kim. What do we got?
We have 5 items before the committee.
Great.
Item number 1 is a Department of Aging report relative to amending senior service contracts to close out fiscal year 2007-08.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. Martin Tendebibiana for the Department of Aging. We're here to request amend the senior contracts to close out fiscal year 2007-2008, which is to reallocate the savings in certain areas to cover over expenditures and over serving at different.
And your general manager approves it?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to recommend approval.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 2 is a motion, Labange Wesson, relative to the use of Quimby funds to address improvements in Shadow Park, including the asphalt, lighting issues, and other future improvements.
Hi.
Darrell Ford, Recreation and Parks. Really briefly, Councilman, the department looks forward to working with your office to identify improvements at Chateau Recreation Center, which could potentially be funded with Quimby funds. So, and I also understand that I think we have a meeting on site with staff from your office tomorrow.
Correct.
To look at potential improvements.
Yeah, in this committee, right here, Arts, Parks, and Health and Aging, which just started, on item number 2, we would have a field meeting at the site, and then additionally, there's how much in the account for Quimby in that area you determine, and are there any funds available?
Well, Chateau Recreation Center has been allocated Quimby fees for different projects. I believe that February of last year, our board allocated some fees for a fencing project. But at this point, what we could do is after we identify the project, we'd have to go through the board to get additional fees allocated to Chateau Recreation Center for whatever project that we deem, after working with your staff and stakeholders, that would be appropriate there.
Good. And the staff of the council office want to report on anything? Okay, but we got ideas, which are good. Thank you very much. Good, so this is exciting because we want to do something for that park. I hope the air conditioning is fixed. Is it fixed? You know, it is fixed. Good job, because the air conditioner went out in June, and I know you worked all summer real hard, and here it's hot again today. So thank you for fixing it. Thank you for what you do, and also the correspondence that you give on a variety of issues. You're a credit, Dale, to the Department of Recreation and Parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Next item.
Item number 3 is the city attorney report and an ordinance regarding off-leash dog park rules and regulations, establishing designated dog exercise and training areas at Griffith Park Dog Park and Whitnall Off-Leash Dog Park, and to prohibit unlicensed dogs in city dog parks.
Mr. Reagan, a good job this morning in leading the way for the new mounted unit for the Rangers.
Right, thank you,
Several
Councilman.
people are here to support that as well.
Yeah, and thank you
about
for
this
being
item.
there. I appreciate that.
You betcha.
Well, Councilman, the department is in support of this ordinance. It does require that all dogs visiting city dog parks be licensed. It also allows the commission-adopted rules to be enforced at all dog parks and designates certain areas of Griffith Park and the Whitlaw Highway as dog parks, and we are in
How about
favor.
the other dog parks, like Running Canyon Dog Park? Does that apply
As
there?
you may want to ask the city attorney on that, but as I read through the ordinance, it does redesignate those areas as well. It covers those.
All dog parks.
All dog parks. What we did was we just restated that subsection in this ordinance to update it and to clarify, rather than just add on extra provisions, we rewrote it. So it's all.
It's encompassing. We don't have to come back again.
Yes.
And let me ask a question, Mr. Reagan. So you, let's say, get a job in the West Valley, and you move from Long Beach, and you have your dog, and you go out to a dog park in the West Valley. You don't have a license. What happens when you walk on the dog park?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. It's kind of a question that some of the community folks have asked. And I can only answer it this way. We may want to have Linda Barth come up, the Assistant General Manager from Animal Services. However, my understanding is this: if If you're not a resident of the city of Los Angeles, then you're not required to have a city of Los Angeles dog license.
Let's
If
say you
don't
moved
live
from
here.
Long Beach, let's say your
Well, I
job
believe
changed.
if you were to live
Say you
in
were
the
teaching
city,
at Cal State Long Beach in sociology, and you got a job at Cal State Northridge in psychology.
right, and you bring your dog with you every day.
Correct.
Well, if you, it's also my understanding that if you brought your dog with you every day into the city and visited a dog park, you would need to get a license. But we could ask Linda if she wants to.
Mr.
come
Barth, Ms. Barth, okay.
up. Linda?
Good afternoon, Linda Barth with Animal Services. Any dog that's in the city for more than 30 days has to have a license, even if the person, say, is a student, like you said. If they come in and out of the city more than 30 days, they need to get a city license.
So how are we going to deal with that, though? I come up with my dog?
Well, here's what happens
Expert?
in practice. If you're in a dog park and you're found to be unlicensed, first, let's put it into perspective. The vast majority of our city dog parks are unstaffed, meaning there's no staff person there checking everybody in and out of the door. So, really self-compliance, adherence with the law is something we encourage for all park users. So let's say that someone did violate the ordinance by not having their licensed dog, either that they come in the city every day for over 30 days, or they live in the city and they haven't had a licensed dog and they get a violation. They would receive essentially a ticket from either Office of Public Safety or the Rangers, LAPD or Animal Services, and they would have to go to court on that, and they could plead their case to the
But here's what I
judge.
want to ask. I think we should give a warning first to people. There should
Well,
be
I
some
mean,
warning.
the only way to answer that is to say this ordinance doesn't provide a system by which there's a mandatory warning first, or that it's an infraction first. My understanding that these are all misdemeanors from the get-go. However, all peace officers have within their discretion the ability to determine the situation at hand and whether or not to give a warning. I mean,
Madam City Attorney, could I request recreational parks? They request their rangers or others to give a warning first? Just
To implement a policy, yeah, you can
Yeah.
make the request. It wouldn't be codified.
Right, okay, good. So I just want to make it a request, Kevin, that you give a warning so you don't do that. And also come up with the proper signage. Why we have licenses for the health and safety of the
Right.
dog, for dog owners, for dog lovers, and for those who are not. But to have some recognition of the animal for a license. So there's a reason for licensing. And they should be simple and stated and posted there. So with that, I'm going to recommend approval. Thank you very much.
I
And this,
believe-
just one technical question, because I know the equine tax for horses goes into a special tax. Dog's license goes into the general fund? All right, thank you. All righty, and I want to have a public card here for Daryl Barnett, excuse me. Hi, how are you? From Venice, California.
Yes, hi.
Okay, hi, Daryl.
As long as you've approved it, I'm very happy. I just want to make sure that the rules that are posted on the gates of dog parks are, become law, because they're a tool for not only the people that are there using the park, but for the park rangers. And most importantly to me is the 3-dog rule, which I believe will now become law, that one person can only bring 3 dogs, which is part of the rec and park signs that are posted on all dog parks.
So we got that covered, Kevin?
That's correct, Councilman. All of the board-approved rules will be posted at the front of each dog park, and the rules become law under this ordinance.
So a 5-dog walker is not welcome?
To be honest with you, I would have to review the current rules to make sure that it's 3 and not 5. However, the reason behind having a limited number of dogs is that even though you're running your dogs off leash in a dog park, it's really important for the owners of those dogs to be able to have some control over their dogs.
Right.
Because if not, we've had some really bad situations.
Right.
So, to the best of my recollection, without having the document in front of me, the current rule is 3 dogs per person.
Okay, good. There was a beautiful woman named Mary McLaren. She lived at 127 North Manhattan, and she had 6 dogs, but she had a duplex, also 127 and a half. And years ago, in working with her, she said it was such pride because she loved dogs so much, because you only could have 3 dogs per house, correct? So she lived them both 3 in one house, 3 in the next. She was a wonderful woman. God rest her soul. All right, Daryl, you been to City Hall before?
Yes, I have.
You ever been to the top?
No, I
It's a
haven't.
beautiful day today, so if you go out to the elevator after the meeting, whenever, just go up to the top. It's a beautiful view, and you can see Venice, California, with the Santa Anas blowing like it is, and the firefighters putting those fires out did a good job. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we recommend approval on that. Hey, Young G. Next item.
Next item is item number 4, which is a report from the Department of Animal Services relative to establishing a horse advisory task force to address equine issues in the city of Los Angeles.
What time? What time? Hi.
Good afternoon again, council member. I just wanted to clarify real quickly. There is a portion of the license revenue that is surcharged into an account which is used to pay for low-cost spay-neuter. So
Very
a
well.
portion, it doesn't all go to the general fund.
Very well.
In regards to this item, by a motion, Councilmember Gruhl asked Animal Services to take the lead in working with several city departments, including Recreational Parks and Planning and Sanitation, to look into a horse task force or some sort of equine advisory committee to take a look at what the issues related to horses were in the city of Los Angeles and to make some recommendation about some sort of an advisory committee or task force. What you have before you today is a matrix of all the various issues that different city departments deal with that relate to horses, and there's a substantial number of issues that are out there of concern citywide in relation to horses. Also, the gist of the whole recommendation of our report in working with Councilmember Gruhl's office again and with the other city departments is to recommend that the city create some sort of an equine advisory committee, perhaps looking at the city's own bicycle advisory committee, which is a very successful body that helps represent bicycle issues and
Thank you very
bicycle
much.
riders.
What we'd like to do, maybe you could sit and listen, is invite people for public comment up here on this issue here. As chair of the committee, I do a 1-minute public comment, and if you need more, just keep talking. So that's just the way to do it. Jim D'Antona is here first from Ms. Gruhl's office. Fritz Bromer, please take a chair. Mary Benson, always good to see you. And the great Lynn Brown, Dale Gibson, and without a name, a horse advisory task force for the Fifth Hill Trails Division. Didn't put a name here. So if you would, please. Sure, whatever. Come on, anybody. We're welcoming you all. Okay,
Councilmember
just state your name. Okay, Jim.
Councilmember Labange, thank you for moving this forward. Thank you for your staff helping us get us here. This comes back from a multitude of motions that Councilmember Smith, I think yourself,
Right.
and Councilmember Gruhl had put together in so many different departments that we figured it needs to be focused under one area, and the idea of trying to bring forward an equine advisory committee. The report that Animal Service did identified so many issues facing all the different departments, and they all had separate ways of dealing with it. So I think it's a great idea to put together. Councilmember believes it's a great idea to put together the Equine Advisory Committee, which will help us bring focus to this. We'd love to get the committee's support on this to form this Equine Advisory Committee. The one thing we need to do in the next step is to get a report on the financial, what would it cost the city to run such an Equine Advisory Committee, and also look at the structure of that. You know, how would who would be appointed, who would be the lead department on those things, and I think that's something with the CAO, CLA's office that we can work on. And again, we have many residents that have been watching this closely, your district, our district, Council District 12, and you saw the importance of it in the fire just recently. And if we have some organization there, I think that would be very helpful. So,
Right. Did everyone who came down get a copy of this report? Okay, good. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council member. My name is Mary Benson. I'm here representing LA Trails Project, and we've been following this. I just want to bring up 1968 was the first time the city of Los Angeles developed a hiking and equestrian trails master plan to be integrated into the Recreation and Parks plan. Unfortunately, that's not where the federal and state money comes from. It comes from federal highway dollars from the Department of Transportation through our state park system. And I'm here to endorse the Equine Advisory Task Force and the Horse Council. and look forward to working with this group in the future. I think the amount of dollars that are being spent versus the amount of dollars that are being spent in terms of uneducated staff and department staff, because they don't know anything about equestrian issues, there really could be a cost savings here rather than putting forward extra money in these really tight budgetary times. The other issue is that council staff just recommended like 7 full-time staff members from city government to work with bicyclists. It's really discriminatory when there are so many people out hiking and riding in the trails in Griffith Park to create an advisory council that works with only one group of outdoor recreationists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilman Labange, and it was a wonderful ceremony deputizing those horses this morning.
Yeah.
And I'd also like, my name is Fritz Bronner, by the way, and I'm with the Foothill Trails District Neighborhood Council. I'm a board member, and also I'm with the LA Horse Council, as well as the War Horse and Military Heritage Foundation. I'd also like to thank Animal Services for the superb job over the last few days dealing with the fire rescue. Many of the community here were involved with stables, taking in the horses, and many were here also trailering horses from harm's way all over the valley. And also Dart, Hugh, and Stacy from those organizations were absolutely super. This opportunity for this advisory committee for horses is a unique opportunity in its time. Based on $2,007, the equestrian industry in the city of Los Angeles is a $900 million industry. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the city agencies are not connecting the dots. When people buy trucks, they don't realize they're using it for horses. When people buy real estate, they don't realize it's equestrian real estate. You think about the jobs, you think about the the shows and everything in here. Indirect, when people take their show jackets to dry cleaners, they don't connect it to the horse industry. The county, we're $1.5 billion. They also, when building and safety goes out to an area that's considered stagnant in permits, and they go out and look at the property and they see a couple of horses grazing, they see brick and mortar, they look for brick and mortar, and they don't realize those horses just got shod. There's a trainer working on them. They just had a vet out there, and they just did a big show that weekend before. They're generating money and income. It's revenue, but the tax dollars, they're just not connected to this industry. And having this opportunity with this kind of advisory council from all the agencies represented, like the bicycle industry, this would be a unique opportunity to do lots of proper coordination and planning so we can get dealing with sanitation, safety, street works, everything as far as that would be a fantastic opportunity. So we wholeheartedly support this.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you this morning. Lynn?
Yes, I want to thank you, Councilman Labange, for this opportunity, and thank you this morning for being the champion of the equestrians that you have been so wonderfully for all of us. As the National Trail Coordinator for ETI, I'm just here to say that we enthusiastically support this horse task force and think it's something that's been long overdue and very much needed. And we look forward to working with you on a public-private partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Councilman Labange, I'm Roy Ann Herman. I'm representing my neighborhood council today, which is Foothill Trails, but typically I'm also heavily involved with ETI and with the LA Horse Council. Before I even start talking about the advisory committee, we want to say thank you very much to you and Lynn for having the meeting that's going to let us ride through the Light Festival. It's really exciting for us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Look forward to being there.
As far as this advisory council is concerned, there are 2 reasons that I want to support it. The first one is the simple one and the obvious one, which is the emotional response that so many of us have when we see our horse rights, I guess one would say, that are contrary to ordinance and law being violated, and we have no place to go. And the second, and to me the most important one, is that we cannot seem to teach or convince either developers or our regional planning commissions that there are different, not special necessarily, but different needs within the equestrian communities. And they don't seem to want to know because you are under so much pressure to produce more living space. with an advisory council, the hope exists that maybe we can, in fact, teach the Regional Planning Commission that there are different needs for equestrians, and if the developers would come in and actually recognize the footprint of our community and that they could make a contribution instead of just coming in and destroying it. So we sure hope you'll support it, and I thank you. Oh, one other thing, just briefly. There is a CIS due this Friday, I'm sorry to say, to you, that will be voted upon tomorrow. And if you have any interest from Foothill Trails, I can read you the text of the CIS. Sure. Would you care to hear it? All right. It's not voted upon, but I think there are 4 of us in the room right now who will be voting on it tomorrow night. It reads, Horse Advisory Task Force CFO 74097, by a vote of X to X, the Foothill Trails District Neighborhood Council resolves to urge creation of a Horse Advisory Task Force. It should be supported with an appropriate commitment of resources from each necessary and applicable city department. Los Angeles equestrian communities have a pressing need for an advisory body within city government to advocate for interests, both commercial and private, of the again growing equestrian population and economy. So pretty much what we're all saying. Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you.
My name is Terry Kaiser. I am also a member of ETI. I'm a deputy trail coordinator, and I'm also the president of ETI Corral 20. I'm a chairman of a nonprofit organization, 501(c) called California Trail Users Coalition, and we have won over $2 million in these RTP grants. So we have the experience that we could bring to the table to help you. Now, I see this task force, and I'm, of course, in favor of it, as a two-way street. We can come to the task force and come to the city and see exactly, here's our problems and work them out together. Going the other direction, and the best example is what just took place at the beginning of this, this week with the fires. The majority of the horses that were relocated and saved were done by non-city people. We were on the trail or on the roads collecting horses before animal regs had enough time to get there. And it's a real benefit if we can work together in a task force and come up with better ways to do something. We have a lot of information that we gathered this last weekend, and I think we could bring a lot to the plate to make things work in the future of any catastrophes. Thank you.
You know if anybody lost a horse in the fire?
I think up in, was the Box Canyon, up in Brown Canyon. There were some horses that the fire was just too great. Right. Although we had trailers there, it wasn't safe for us to go up.
Right.
So it was a no-win situation.
Right. Hey.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dale Gibson. I'm from Sunland, California. I'm with the Los Angeles Horse Council.
Where were you born, Dale?
Sir?
Where were you born?
Oh, Louisville, Kentucky.
All right, good. I could do that. He said, sir. I said, this guy's not from Los Angeles. Right, Teddy, attorney?
My folks say I was born on a horse, but I don't know. Okay. All my friends and colleagues have pretty much hit all the points. Just a couple of things. Great things about this advisory force would be, right now we're currently working with the DWP on reclaimed water and trying to get it at their ranch. Obviously working through this task force would make that easier. Some of the numbers, just in case you haven't heard, through our investigation found 20 to 25,000 horses in the city of the Los Angeles area. This task force would be great, easing zoning burdens for yourself, for city and rural areas. And the last thing I'd like to say is like they've all been saying, the task force working with business and rural areas. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone?
It's $37,000 for riding for a cure for cancer.
Oh, very good, Dale. Thank you. Good job. Give Dale a big hand for that effort there. Huh? Let's ask Ms. Barth, if you would. And so this is going to go to council. I got to recommend it, obviously, for approval. What do you envision as who would be the lead agency involved?
I'm really not sure. I think that the suggestion that the CAO and the CLA take a look at the matter and try to determine what the best structure will be as far as, for the Bicycle Advisory Committee, Department of Transportation is the obvious. Other departments don't have nearly as much involvement. But in this issue, it's planning, it's transportation, it's public works, it's building and safety with the standards. So there's so many departments involved. It may be a co-chair situation. So I think the idea would be to have CAO and CLA, whatever I think council member's office suggested.
Mr. D'Antoni's here. Do you have any idea for that?
Well, since our initial motion, Jim D'Antona, Planning Deputy Councilmember Wendy Gruhl, our initial motion didn't ask for a report from CAO, CLA. I don't know if it's appropriate for the committee to have it come back maybe one more time, refer it to CAO, CLA, to have them come back with now how to.
Well, I think we should get
bring
an
it to
answer
council.
before council, just make a decision. I think this is simple. To those who came down today, I want to thank you. What you have to do is focus. You know, everybody has to advocate for what they believe in this city of ours, and for you to spend your time is very important. Also, you don't want to get caught in a bureaucratic maze and just be an advisory committee that doesn't listen. You should set some goals. The neighborhood councils are extremely important, especially in the foothill areas, because you look out for this issue so well. Our adjacent cities are important, because Glendale and Burbank, the horses, as I said this morning, live in Glendale and Burbank, but they ride in L.A., and so there should be some relationship for those close proximities to have this involved in. When we come to council, if we don't have this answered by city council, we'll hold it back and get a better answer. But I think people are ready to start talking about it now. We've lost too many K districts. I know Mr. Garcetti and I have fought to keep the K district in Atwater Village. For those of you who don't know, that's the zoning for the ability to house horses on property. So we're anxious to move forward. I'm anxious to see it, and I'm also anxious. I support cycling and bicycling, but in Los Angeles parks, I do believe in a separation and not having them on dirt trails, because I think the conflict that would occur with that. I know in some state parks they allow that. So let's move this forward to council, and I thank each and every one of you who came down, Ms. Barth from the department, as well as all of you from the neighborhood. And I know the young man from Louisville, you've probably never been to the top of this building, so you could go take your little tour up there. You make a point. You betcha. As long as you don't take a rope and try to repel it, so we'd have to call that. Okay, this goes forward to council. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 5.
Item number 5 is a report from the LA for Kids Steering Committee relative to the allocation and reallocation of Proposition 12 and 40 funds and a loan from the Public Works Trust Fund.
You got it. Thank you, Lynn Brown. I like your boots. Give Lynn a hand for her boots there, the best boots we ever see there. I'm glad she rides horses, because usually people wear boots like that in here. They think we talk too much in this business. See ya. Okay.
Okay, Lori Hancock, City Administrative Office. This report, coming from the LA for Kids Steering Committee, reflects their recommendation of 3 Recreation and Parks reports to allocate or reallocate Prop 12 and Prop 40 funds. There's a recommendation for $2.6 million of reallocations from Prop 12 RZH, Prop 40 per capita, and Prop 40 RZH as well. These funds have different expiration dates, and so moving them around within the funds helps us to maximize the use of these grant funds. In addition to that request, there's also a request for reallocation of $235,000 that the steering committee was not able to consider at its September meeting because of public notice requirements.
Very well. All the council offices of the affected districts have been informed about this, and they're supportive of it?
Yes.
And also Mr. Drucker from the Bureau of Engineering supports it?
Yes.
Move forward with this report. Thank you. Any other items before us other than public comment?
That completes the items.
Thank you. Okay, we have public comment cards. Jose Hurtado, Irma Caldillo, Stephanie Taylor, Jason Elias.
How are you?
Good.
It's okay if I start?
Sure.
All right, great. Jason Elias, SEIU Local 721. We're here, of course, to talk about the issue we brought up 2 weeks ago at your committee. We thank you for your support and help over the past 2 weeks in trying to restore some of the monies to keep maintenance and operations happening in the parks. We also understand your committee will agendize the issue and ask Rec and Parks for a report. Here's where we are now. I told you 2 weeks ago that the reductions of maintenance and operations in Rec and Parks, we're facing about 1,700-hour cut in services in maintenance and operations. You stepped in, the mayor's office stepped in to help and asked the Department of Recreation and Parks to put folks back to work. The department has not fully met their side of that bargain. So some of the folks that you see before you today, most of the room are members of ours. One who will not speak today is Cleotilde Arenas, who, makes about $1,000 a month when she's working 20 hours a week. She's only working 14 now, so she's lost about $300 out of that $1,000 a month. The other sad thing, and I'll finish here, is that if these folks' hours are cut, they will never make it to half-time status where they just get employee-only benefits. So Cleotilde is very close to getting those benefits, but she will not be able to make it because you have to meet a 1,000-hour threshold, and she won't get close to that. So what I'm asking you today, and what other folks will ask you today, is to work with the mayor's office, the CAO, and Rec and Parks to put folks back to work today. Let's figure out if we can squeeze the towel, so to speak, to see if some more money can drip out of it for part-time budget, and get ready for next year, because next year we know is going to be even worse, and we want to work really closely with the city to keep the parks fully staffed, recreation programs going, and bathrooms cleaned is the bottom line. Thank you, council member.
Thank you, Jason.
Anybody?
Okay.
You can introduce yourself.
My English is not that good.
That's
Let me
okay,
try.
and,
Okay. My
just
name
take your
is Jose
time.
Hurtado. I'm a head timer. I'm here to ask you for help. And I'm here to speak for my friends, head timers and part timers. This situation that affect us a lot. I hear so many stories, friend of mine. For example, this morning, a guy is a full-timer, his wife is a head-timer, and he bought a house, right? To make the payments, he really need her money to complete the payment. He asked me, what am I going to do if they let it go, or they let it go? Am I going to lose my house? So it's what I'm here to ask you for help. And it's another thing that I see right away. I was walking in my park near to my house. I can see the difference. I can see the bathrooms real bad. I can see trash. I can see the playgrounds. It looks nasty. It looks real bad. And what I'm saying, I'm not going to let my kids go to the park. What am I going to do with my kids? Keep it in the yard? So it's why I'm here to ask for help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Estoy aquí representando a mis compañeros part-timers.
And good afternoon. My name is Irma Caudillo, and I'm here representing my coworkers in the parks.
Trabajamos 20 horas a la semana
We work 20 hours a week,
y nos han recortado a 14 horas.
so they've reduced us to 14 hours.
Esto realmente nos ha afectado. Y
Disculpa, say it again. Otra vez.
esto realmente nos ha afectado.
This is really, affecting us really, really bad.
Y queremos suplicarle que nos brinde su ayuda, que nos
Yeah, so I'm asking that you can help us
pudieran regresar nuestras horas de trabajo
so we can, return back to our 20 hours a week.
y que nos ayuden, nos apoyen, porque nuestras familias realmente lo necesitamos.
Yeah, and, that you can really help us because our families really need, this money to survive.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Council Member. My name is Stephanie Taylor, and I'm here representing the Verde Coalition. We're a coalition of park advocates, members, SCIU Local 721, People for Parks, so Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust, and others. So I'm here to reiterate sort of what Jason has said, and also to emphasize the point that next year, when we're facing even a bigger budget deficit, we're going to be in a very worst situation, and we know that parks are often the first to get cut in a serious budget situations, but this shouldn't be the case, and I know that you, probably of all the council members, understand this, so we're here asking, the work that we do today is even more critical because we're going to be facing an even more critical situation in the future. So want to say thank you for your support, and then also to encourage you to continue partnering with groups like SCIU and the Verde Coalition, others, and People for Parks and others to find solutions to this sort of ongoing problem, as you know, the lack of funding that is necessary for the operations and maintenance of parks.
Thank you all. Carrie Sutkin wants to speak at this moment.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for holding this hearing. It's very important to the city workers for them to see, you know, that
This
you're
is public comments, but
listening. And on behalf of People for Parks, we, reiterate what's been said already. We understand it's a very difficult financial time for the country and for the city. And but you know that people use parks, and poor people really need the parks. And I'm speaking on behalf of many of the inner city residents whose parks are kind of already suffering more than some of the more affluent areas, and so we hope that you'll do your best. Cuts are not easy to take, but perhaps you can raise user fees in other areas to kind of offset the deficit in the city so that the neediest areas have safe, clean, healthy parks.
Right. Carrie, thank you very much. Thank each and every one of you. And if you could translate anything, Jason. I think it's real important to realize, too, as some of the speakers have mentioned, we are going through a dynamic internationally, globally, obviously the United States, California, and locally. So just, we will have a schedule on this, Madam Clerk, for the next meeting?
There are 2 meetings in November, November 5th or November 19th.
Yeah, so probably November 19th. We'll look at it, but we'll watch it and keep me posted in there. There is a dynamic that we've asked for additional funds to recreation and parks to help that, because in the time of need, you need the city. When we had a time of need, we had the fire department. Everybody was battling the blazes. That was very visible. With the impending challenges that we face through the economic times, our libraries and parks will be meccas for people to come to gather themselves to try to be able to balance themselves in the challenges of the day. So we all want to fight for parks and for the people who help clean the parks and keep them acceptable, because we don't want to have said, as the gentleman said, take his own family to a place that's not maintained or cared for. So with that, we'll ask it be on the 19th, because on the 5th is the day after the 4th, and on the 4th is a big day.
yeah.
And
We'll be sleeping on the 5th.
well, some will be sleeping. You can always sleep on the way home. So we don't want to. We want to be still working hard for the people.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your public comment, and Ms. Sunkin, thank you for People for Parks last night and a wonderful program you did.
Thank you.
We also, Madam Clerk, look forward to scheduling another discussion on our shared joint use policy program that we're working together with People for Parks. So we'll
Community school parks.
community school parks. We'll talk about that. There's no other items. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.